Good evening, African Confessions. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? I am one of your followers here on Facebook. So I once heard this story about that woman who was saying that when she got married, in the culture that she got married into, she had to sleep with her father-in-law. I also come from that same culture. I have my own story to tell, and I don't have anyone to share with my story because in our culture, this thing is really normalized. But now it seems as if it is getting much better. But this is what happened to me. So I grew up in a poor family. Then in our neighborhood, there was this other family. It was a rich family according to the village standards. So my parents, I think that they got me married off to that family when I was still a little girl. Growing up, whenever I would meet any member of that family, they will just greet me with such respect, and they will say that I am their future daughter-in-law. But I never understood this until when I was 25 years old. That is when I was forced into a marriage by my parents. I tried to refuse, but my parents told me that there is no way that I could refuse because my bride price had already been paid off. So I asked my parents, what do you mean that my bride price has already been paid for? My parents then told me that the money that took our elder brother through university, it was the money that was coming from my in-laws, my future in-laws. I was really hurt when I heard this news. I cried so much. Even the time when I was still waiting for my auntie, because according to our tradition, she was the one who was supposed to come and take me to my in-laws, or my in-laws were the ones that were supposed to come and officially take me from my parents. But my father had opted that my auntie should come and take me to my in-laws' house, because my father said that those people, they didn't finish up the money that they had promised to my father as part of my bride price. So this was a way of my father reminding the family that I was getting married into that they still owed him a lot of money. I waited for my auntie, but it was quite hard knowing that I am going to be in a relationship with a man that I never loved, with a man who was way older than me. I already had my own boyfriend and I was in love with my boyfriend. I knew that when he was going to hear about this news, this was going to break his heart. I kept on thinking, what will he think of me? Maybe he would think that I was a prostitute. Maybe he would think that I was just playing around with his feelings. But no matter how hard I tried to protest, to tell my parents that even if you take me to those people, I am going to run away. But my father threatened to chop me up with an axe, so I remained quiet. When my auntie arrived, we packed our clothes. When my auntie arrived, she forced me to pack my clothes. My auntie was someone who didn't hesitate to beat you up. So when she told me that I had to go and pack my clothes because she was going to take me to my in-laws, I went into the room that I was sleeping in. Then she followed me. Maybe she suspected that I wanted to run away. This is what I wanted to do. I told myself that once I got into my room, I was going to lock the door. Then I will jump out of the window. Then I will run away. I had these dreams of running away from the village to the city. I was going to tell my boyfriend first, if he wanted to join me, he could run away with me. If he didn't want to join me, I had made up my mind I was going to the city. But my auntie suspected that maybe I was going to run away. She quickly followed me, and there was no longer an escape from me. She took me to my in-laws and they welcomed me into the family. But I was not happy because in that family there were a lot of boys, so I didn't know which one was going to be my husband. They don't tell you who your husband is until the day that he will come to make you his wife in the house, in the room that you'll be staying in. So me and my auntie, we stayed at my in-laws' house. This was for 2 weeks. My auntie was teaching me a lot of stuff, the things that I was supposed to do when I will be in bed with my husband, how to look after my husband, how to take care of him, and how to do all the duties that were required of me as a new daughter-in-law in this family. After my auntie had taught me all of the bedroom stuff and all the things that I was supposed to know about taking care of a man, she then returned back to my parents and I was left alone. When I was still with my auntie, I felt as if I had someone. The day that she told me that she was going to leave me behind, I cried so much because now reality was setting in. I was going to be someone else's wife, the person that I never knew, the person who was going to come to my room on that night, and I was supposed to love that man, a man that I didn't even know. It was a man that I was going to know when the morning came. When my auntie returned back to our house, that is when my mother-in-law called me. Then she gave me some lotion that smelled really nice and some perfume. I want to be honest that this was the first time to use a lotion that really smelled so nice and to use. I had never used these products in my life. When the evening came, that is when she showed me one of the house, and this house was still being built by the time that when me and my auntie had gone there, but they had finished building it in the 2 weeks. It was one of those village houses. So this was supposed to become my house as long as I'll be married into that family. I went into that room not knowing who was going to come and visit me. But as the evening progressed, that is when I had the knock on the door. An instruction had been given to me not to look at the man who was going to come into my room. So I just closed my eyes. Then when that man entered into the room that I was sleeping, and when he was busy, and as that man was busy having intercourse with me, that is when I realized that it was my father-in-law who had came into that room that I was in. But I was told that I was not supposed to look at him, and he never touched me. The only thing that he did when he came into that room that I was sleeping, he only removed the blanket, then he covered my face. Then he started having intercourse with me. He didn't touch me or anything. After he had successfully removed my virginity, then he rose up, then he went outside. After that, that is when I had another knock. That person who was knocking at the door kept on knocking, and my auntie had told me that when you hear someone knocking and if you don't answer, if that person keeps on knocking, then you have to go and open for that person. He is going to be your husband. That man kept on knocking on my door until I woke up. Then I went and I opened for him. When I looked at him, I saw that it was that same man, the same guy who never left the beer hall, who was always present drinking beer at the village market. This really broke my heart because he was a well-known drunkard in our village. This one was going to be my husband. He came in, but on that night, he didn't have intercourse with me. He waited for a little while until I had healed. That is when he made me his wife. Me and him, we stayed. We had our first child together. I tried so much to love that man, but I could not love him because he was just a drunkard. So many nights he would come back home and he would force to have intercourse with me. Sometimes I would even refuse because of the way that he would be smelling. He was a smoker. If he smoked these modern cigarettes, at least it was better. He used to smoke that dry tobacco, that one that will make your mouth so smelly. That is the kind of tobacco that he used to smoke. Some of it he even used to chew the tobacco because in our village we used to grow tobacco. Staying in that relationship, it was quite challenging, especially when my mother-in-law died. It seemed as if my husband respected his mother so much, because whenever he would try to beat me up, if I called out to his mom, when his mom would come, then he would stop, then he would apologize. But after the death of his mother, he started beating me and insulting me almost each and every day. That is when I decided that I had to run away. One day he came back home, then he gave me some money and he told me that I had to go to the next town so that I can buy some groceries for the whole family. When he gave me the money, I took my child and I pretended as if I was traveling to the next town so that I can buy some cheap groceries, but I never returned. Until this day, my brother, I'm still staying and I am still working in the city. Now I am working as a stay-in maid, but at least I am able to take care of my child. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was forwarded to me by one of our admins. Please let us speak with our dear sister.